Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to comedians, comedy characters from across the comedy world. Now, today's guest is a man of many different performing disciplines. He's a writer, he's been in films, he's a novelist, he's a comedian, he's acted. There's nothing this man can do. But also, he has a very colourful past. He is a man who could beat Danny Dyer to shreds. It's Eddy Brimson.
You do realise you said he's done this, he's done that, he's done. There is nothing this man can do.
Can't do. Oh shit.
Leave it in. That's brilliant. Because there's a lot of people who would agree with that statement, especially the comedy wise. That was fantastic. And I'm not sure about the Danny Dyer thing. To be fair, he's a big old lump. He's Danny Dyer. Yeah, I've never met him. Meant to be lovely.
Yeah, I hear he's a cool guy. But I remember I used to watch his Danny Dyer's Deadliest Men thing. And I remember him interviewing a proper Tottenham football hooligan and him saying, Danny Dyer is a great guy, but he said, Football Factory, what a load of bollocks.
Yeah, shit film. That shit film. They've never got it right with football violence films because they have to have this whole shit backstory, and also they never get the fight scenes right.
Oh, okay.
They never get You don't need hundreds of people to do a fight scene that looks really good and graphic. I don't think there's ways of doing it. Yeah.
Following on from what I've just said, you've had quite a colourful past. Like, what was it like? What is it? What was it like? Yeah, how did you get to being a comedian, and how did you go from being a former football hooligan to being where you are now?
Well, I'm an old bloke, right? So I grew up in late 70s, early 80s was my youth, really, because I'm 61. Um, Football was very different back then. It was a totally different game. Going to football was very different. And as a young lad, I started going to my club Watford with my mates' brothers who were older than us, and they were all into the sort of violence thing. And as a young lad, I just got dragged into it, and it was very exciting going all over the country every other week to different places with a load of other lads. First time I'm away, and it's very easy to get pulled into it. And yeah, yeah. So that's how I got into it. And it was, it was for my generation, it was kind of like the mods and rockers. So just lads growing up, just getting up to mischief, really. Yeah, a lot of fun.
What was? Is it anything like you saw it, like people seeing Football Factory or Green Street with them fighting like that? I know you said it. No, you already said it's completely different. But is there any bits at all that are real?
Yeah, well, I suppose especially with Football Factory, is how you get pulled into it, and it can happen anywhere, especially when back then when you was on coaches going up and down, or we used to go to games in the back of Luton transit vans, and 20 of us sitting in the back of a van, and then you just turn up and pull the back up, and out you'd get, and you just find yourself in. Most of it was to do, particularly with my club, because we just had a very small mob of blokes, and it was mainly about showing up, really. Very rarely actually got into actual fighting. And when you see most football violence live, it's mainly people chucking stuff, or very rarely it gets into proper fisticuffs. But every now and again, you just turn a corner and you find yourself in the wrong or the right place at the wrong or right time.
Oh, okay. So it's not okay. Um, but did you see anyone get proper sorted out, or like did you see any people like?
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people get sorted out. I got sorted out a few times as well. Yeah. I got a right hiding in Cardiff. No, sorry, Swansea. I did get an hiding in Cardiff actually, but it's stuck in Wales. Um, But yeah, I got a proper hiding in Swansea. Had the skull fractured. Yeah, yeah.
Did you
It was
did you give some back to people as well? Have you
not
sorted
that
any?
day, not that day, but the next day I got a right old hiding. But the next weekend they were down at Tottenham, and so I took a little mob of Watford down to Tottenham to see if we could find the fellas who'd give me an hiding. But so we were getting loads of stick off to Tottenham. We were standing on the shelf, the old shelf at White Hart Lane, and obviously Tottenham spotted us and they were singing "Fuck off Watford," wondering why we were there. And then we went, but before the gate, just when they opened the gates, about 10 minutes before the end, we left and ran round to the away end and ran into there, but they weren't there. They weren't there.
Oh, okay.
Daft, really. But
It's sophisticated. It's sophisticated violence, sophisticated beatings.
well, it started. I sort of stopped getting involved in it around 84, 86. And that's when that's when it all changed. So it wasn't organised like it went through a little period with mobile phones and that being organised. I got out of it before then. Um, yeah. So it was more like edging your bet.
Okay. What was what was so when you're doing all of that? I mean, you did it when you were younger, so and a lot of people say so you recover quicker from all the things. But what was the worst thing you saw during your time as a in that life?
I suppose. Oh, yeah, yeah. My hiding was pretty bad, to be fair. But yeah, I don't really want to go into that too much.
Okay, so fair enough, fair enough. Sorry. But for anyone that is,
What happened to me, I got out of it because in one season, knives were pulled out 3 times, by opposition fans, and once that started to happen, I you know, it if for our opinion was if you got an hiding, come Wednesday, you wouldn't feel it. On Monday morning, tough shit, you got an hiding. But when that started to come out, the knives, it's like, "Oh, no, I don't mind getting in a little punch up, but I'm not into." That's a different level. That's the time for me to get out because this is getting a bit too stupid now. Yeah.
okay,
So that was the thing that made me stop.
okay, okay. And with the with anyone that, what what is it that when people like when people find out that you're a former football hooligan, what is the thing that you get surprised by in terms of people's lack of understanding?
Well, the thing when I was involved in it at the end, um, the first book we wrote was to blow to sort of there's this image of what a football hooligan was. They're all thick, they're all from a council estate, they're all just idiots and blah, blah, blah. But people were attracted to it from all walks of life. So the first book we wrote, we was to blow the lid off. I was running my own graphic design company at the time. My brother was a sergeant in the RAF. People who were intelligent and made something of themselves, but you'd get pulled into that because it was exciting. When we first wrote our first book, it was to sort of blow the lid on that, the stereotypical thought of what a football hooligan is, um, because they come from all walks of life.
Okay,
So when people say to me now, "Oh, it's such a long time ago for me now," and it is kind of you get a bit of it now at non-league. You don't see too much of it at football these days because of CCTV and all that. Non-league is probably where it's worse because there's usually no old bill or CCTV around.
but they really. I know that in the I think it was the 80s and 90s, but the police really clamped down on it because English teams were getting banned from going to Champions League. And the one thing that I find really strange is that a lot of European countries have started a copy the British football hooligan, and now the problem over in places like Poland and Russia and other countries is very bad.
Oh, throughout Europe, it's really bad. Germany have got a problem. Spain have clearly got a big problem. Italy have always had a big problem. You go to Turkey, they're mental out, absolutely mental out there. Holland is big in Holland. They all copied the English, but they still see the English as the sort of target. When
Yeah,
really it's we don't get that much of it anymore over here. But they still sort of challenge, think, oh, the English are the team are the country to challenge on it. But it's far worse in Europe now. A lot of it in France at the moment as well.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Paris is a dodgy place in some of the areas. I remember trying to go to, I thought I was smart going to a 4-star hotel, but it was in one of the dodgy parts with quite a few tents around. And yeah, it was quite touch and go.
Yeah, Marseille is a very dangerous place. I was there with England in '98. Very dangerous.
But it's so mad though that they know that the football hooligan has sort of gone, yeah, it's not as big as it used to be. But so them attacking us doesn't really mean that isn't like,
Still a big scalp for them. It's still a big scalp to take on an English team. But yeah, it's very, very different. But it's weird what happened at Chelsea when they had their semi-final recently. There was the Norwegian fans were all over the ground, you know, and they didn't. They had their end. They came across from their end into the Chelsea bit. They had the upper tier of the what's his Harding stand, and yeah, they was all over the ground.
yeah. It's funny how times change.
That wouldn't imagine that 15 years ago. Fuck me. There you go.
But with so you've had that, you've been through a lot, but like, how did it equip you for the world of like acting, like novels and like being a comedian? Because you said before, like a lot of comedians used to come in like being a bit more older and having more stories.
Yeah, I came to comedy very late. I didn't start till I was in my 30s, and I'd had a lot of other stuff then because I then got in. Once I got out of the football thing, I got involved in the anti-hunting movement, and that was very confrontational, but that led to me getting arrested a lot. Um, uh, and then what I was doing, I started writing the books about football. I did a couple of documentaries following England overseas, and then I needed to do something on my own. And I thought the best opportunity for me to do, because I've been let down quite a lot. I was in bands, and when things nearly started to happen, people were like, "Oh, I can't afford to leave my job," and it's like that's what we've been working towards. Then with the writing, I got let down a bit, so I started writing on my own. Got to a point where I thought I'd written as much as I can on football. I need something else, but I want something that is just down to me. If I succeed, no one can take the praise. If I fail, there's no one to blame, and that's why I thought comedy's the best thing for me to do that. I never wanted to be a comic. Someone give me a leaflet in the pub saying there was a comedy course. They gave me this leaflet saying, "You think you're funny," and I put it on the side. I woke up the next morning after being out on the piss, saw it, and I thought, well, I'll give that a ring. And that's how my comedy career started.
Okay, and how was it doing the course? Like, who was the teacher, and what were your
It,
thoughts going in, and how
it
did it
was
change?
it really it was a guy called Michael Knighton. There was a few of us who went on to start doing. I got some really good mates from that course. There was a few of us who started doing paid gigs. One of my mates went on to be very successful on radio, but then he got out of it. Doing something totally different now. But Michael, our teacher, I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. But by the end of the course, we were out starting to get paid gigs, and he was asking us who we should ring to get a gig.
Oh, okay.
It was really weird. But now, apparently, he's turned into a David Icke kind of conspiracy theorist
Oh.
with nutter with a big following. So yeah, apparently he's changed his name to something really weird, like fucking Zog from the planet Gong or something. And yeah, it's quite funny.
But he's probably making more money from doing that than as a comedian.
Well, he wasn't making any money as a comedian.
Okay.
He
Oh,
wasn't.
fair enough.
That's why he was asking me, who books that gig? And I was like, you just fucking told us. You should know everyone. But anyway, but I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for him.
Uh, it is. I always hear this a lot from this, especially in comedy and in clowning. There's two sides of the fence. Some people say that if you teach, you can't. Like they say, it's a famous saying, isn't it? Those that do, do. Those that teach can't. I don't know because I see a lot of people in the clowning theatre world who are good clowns that teach as well. But I know as a whole, if yeah, I see a lot of that, so I don't know. I'd say that if you teach as well, maybe it helps you to understand more of the mechanics or more behind the scenes.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think it's for some people that's true, but there's a lot of really good comics who do courses out there at the moment. There's a lot. But so you do clowning?
yeah, I did a theatre clown course in Goliath
Oh, wow. Wow.
with first of all I did it with Mick Barnfather, but then I was hearing people talk about Goliath, so I went there. I did the year program with the man himself, but he's no longer teaching. He's too old and not strong enough anymore. But yeah, it was an interesting thing. The only thing I will say about the course, there are a lot of people from across the globe, but I do feel that it's more of people that share the same sort of thoughts and opinions, and it's not as diverse as stand up because it is an expensive course, very
Mm.
expensive course. So I think that's the only criticism I have of it, and but it is good in terms of that it helps you, yeah, it helps you be funny without anything.
It's just it's my favourite form of comedy. When I go to Edinburgh, or well, I lived in Edinburgh for a long time. So at the festival, the first people I'd want to see were Paul Curry, Spencer Jones. Um, that's the kind of stuff that makes me really fucking laugh. What the Caballs were doing as well. Clowning for me is just I love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it seems to do quite well in Edinburgh. I know that.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a lot of yeah, it's great. There's a lot of great clowns like Vigo Venn. There's a one person I want to see. I'm not sure he's a clown. He's more of a bouffon, which is like Sacha Baron Cohen, where they act like an idiot, but they're making a fool out of you rather than being an
Yeah.
idiot that looks stupid. And there's a guy called the Red Bastard who I want to
Yeah.
see in the Soho Theatre later on in June.
Yeah, I remember when he first come to Edinburgh, and you couldn't get a ticket when he first came. Yeah, brilliant. See, when I go to Edinburgh, I'm a very scripted stand-up, but when I go to Edinburgh, I do quite a bit of clowning. I've never tried, but I like doing weird shit that I can't do in the clubs because I haven't got enough time. And it just brings me so much joy being able to do really, really stupid stuff. Like for one of my um, shows, I ended it by I've got this white paper suit and I go to jump out the window. I'm on a 3-story building and I actually get out and stand on the window ledge and go, "This has been the best gig I've ever had. It's not going to get better than it." So I'm ending it tonight, folks. Thanks a lot. And then shut the curtain. And people used to think I'd actually was going to was going to jump, which is weird. But yeah, yeah, I like doing the clowning stuff. Just trying to think what. Recently, I was doing a thing where I was dressing up as "Don't Stop Believing." I was dressing up as a vicar and then spraying people with water.
That's nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just about the reaction, the rapport between you and me is what makes comedy great, and without you, there's this big build up, and then slowly but surely I dress up as a vicar and stuff. It's good fun. I do these skits on a motorbike as well, where I deliver food, and then I'll do it again, and I'm a visiting sort of strippogram, and I strip off in front of someone. Really good fun to do. Yeah.
Send me the video. Not the stripper bit, but the
No,
other
not
bit.
Oh, brilliant. I shall look forward to seeing you then. That'll be great. I'll make a beeline for you when I know you're about.
Ah, cheers, man. Well, I dress up as Asian Zora, so yeah, I dress up as Zora, do the mask and everything. I put on the accent, and I don't know what it is, but when I dress as Zora, I get heckled a lot, and there's a lot of banter between me and the audience.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. When I was in Australia this year in Perth, I saw a guy called Mambo. He's he- he's an Aussie comic, but he's based in Bristol. Just fucking amazing. Like an hour of clowning, just amazing. Oh, I look forward to watching you then. That sounds great. I won't heckle you though.
That's all right. It's fun. I get some good bits. I mean, someone said that as Zora looked like the hamburger thief from McDonald's, so I added that as a joke. So it's fine.
Uh, are you going up to Edinburgh this year?
I think I'll. I don't think I've got a show because I had a weird thing. We can get political in this, so we could say things. It's a free speech podcast, but I applied with PBH and I applied for a few shows, and they've not let me know about whether I've got a spot or not in either way. So, but I think whatever the case is, I like doing my podcast, so I may just go there and do spots and interview a couple of comics and watch a few shows for a week. So it's fine. I'll win either way.
Okay, well, if I'm up there, I shall look out for you, my friend.
Thank you. And I definitely have a lot of shows to see. I know that there's a few that are going to be intriguing. I like the Heckler's show with David Tassonis. There's the, so
He's a
many
good
great
lad.
things still. He's so sharp-witted as well. I remember I booked him for a slightly off gig in Greenwich, and he did the common thing of where I wasn't aware of this, but I remember someone told me this. What's his name? A Kiwi comic that used to gig here. He bombed at a very dodgy gig, but he learnt from John Richardson that if you have a very weird gig, pretend it's the best gig you've ever done. And Dave DeSonis did that, and he completely stormed it.
Yep. Someone said to me years ago, I was going through a little bad patch of stand up, and I came off, and one of the other acts went, "Did you enjoy that?" I went, "Did I fuck?" And he went, "No, it didn't look like you did because you didn't smile once." I was like, "Ah, okay." And then the next night, I went on again at the same club, and I was really flatlining again. And then I just thought, I'm going to put a smile on it, like I'm really not bothered, and I'm having a good time. And it turned the gig around. 'Cause and that was a really important lesson for me, that when a gig's not going well, fuck it. I'm enjoying it.
How important is it, even if, yeah, how important is it that the audience know that you're having a good time?
It's very important that if they see, but more importantly, if they can see you're not having a good time, or you're not really in the room, or you're not that focused on it, audiences pick up on that really, really quickly. And you can lose a gig very quick like that if you just when comics go, and we all do it. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it. Every now and again, you go, "Oh right, okay, just me on that one." Then when people start doing that, when a gig's not going so well, and comics bring it up, "Oh well, this isn't going so well," that just drives the gig further and further into the ground.
Oh, okay.
Because that's my opinion on it. Because there'll be people in there going, "Oh, we thought this was going all right," but if he thinks it's shit, maybe it's shit, and you could drive a gig down like that.
If they do it in like a humorous way, oh, it didn't get a laugh, I'd say, but I'm gonna break you motherfuckers. You guys are gonna have a good time. I'm still having a good time. Would that work better, even if you're
Yeah, I think, yeah, you can do it as long as you look like you're having a good time or you're not bothered by the fact that, oh, okay. It could be really funny. I find it really funny if I'm in a gig and I go, "Oh, this is I'm not for you tonight. You are not my crowd, and I'm not your comedian." I find that really funny, and that makes me go a little bit harder, but it also makes me laugh. And then that can, as I say, that can just really turn a gig. It can go, "Oh, well, all right, well, maybe he's not as shit."
Oh, but and there's humor in that as well, highlighting
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I remember tanking. I remember turning up at a gig. I'd done one, and I come to do the second gig for this promoter, and I was meant to be closing. But I got there, and the first gig, I'd had a lovely gig, really, really nice gig. I walked in, I goes, "What they like?" The compere goes, "Yeah, really good." The act on stage, I'm sorry, the act had just come off, going, "Yeah, they're really good. I had a good time." Compere's on stage, he's doing all right. He sees me come in, and he goes, "Oh, we've got the closing act here, but we haven't got our middle act. So, Eddie, are you okay going on now?" And me being Johnny Big Bollocks, because 'cause I've just had a good gig, gone, "Yeah, yeah, I'll go straight on." And I went on, and I was tanking. And after about 5 minutes, I went, "Hang on a minute. I've spoken to the first act. He said he had a really good gig. The compere was obviously doing well. Is it just me?" And as one, they all went, "Yes, yes." I went, "Oh, fuck. Well, look, I'll try something else." And I did something else, and that didn't go. But they laughed a little bit at that. And then in the end, I goes, "You know what? It's probably best that I call it here. But I'll tell you something, no matter how good the other acts were tonight, when you talk to your mate and you go, 'Do you remember that gig we went to 5 months ago?' You won't mention the compere, you won't mention the first act, you'll go, 'Do you remember that bald geezer who died on his arse?' And they pissed themselves laughing at that, and I goes, 'That's why you should come to live comedy. Thank you very much. Good night.'" But, yeah, just called it. Yeah, it's funny. Funny.
I've heard some stories about comedians turning gigs around. I know like Wilson Milton talked about a gig where he changed around for crowd work. And I heard like third-hand information from Andy Zappa. I don't think he minds me saying this, but like Russell Hicks was bombing for 10 minutes in the 20-minute set. But for whatever reason, he was able to turn it round after that and he stormed the rest of the gig.
Well, he's very creative on stage, and he's very in the moment. So, that doesn't surprise me with him at all, that he'll, because he's always searching for a funny that's in the room there and then. Yeah, that don't surprise me with him.
I've yeah, I would like to get him on a podcast as well. I've seen him once or twice, but it is quite amazing and brilliant how he's able to do so many minutes just on improvising. I
Yeah,
mean, there
yeah,
are loads of great comics that do that. I know Patrick Monahan, Philip Simon does an hour show in it, but I think maybe I might do it myself as Asian Zoe because I just think it's yeah, it's very interesting to it's fun.
yeah. Well, my missus, um, she's got great material, but she likes to make something in the room. Um, that's her whole thing. Whereas I'm very scripted. She'll go in and go, "Right, who have we got? What have we got? What do you do? Da 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 da." But she'll make something out of everything, and then she'll, if she needs to, she'll weave her material around it. But she's much more like Russell in that she'll go on and she'll go, "Right, what can we make out of this gig?" And it's a real skill to be able to do that. Yeah, yeah. No, she could turn. For those who don't know, I'm married to Lou Conran, and she her she can just go into a room and make something out of nothing. So even if it's a tough gig, she'll go on and go, "Okay, this is really tough. what can I do to make you people laugh? What can I get out of you? What can I get out of you? And she'll try and weave something in the moment. And if that's not working, she'll go into material. But she's got the ability to do the two. So, which unfortunately I haven't. It's not good when you're not the funniest comic in your own house, mate.
Oh, uh, I don't know what to say.
All right, she knows that's true. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I mean, that's the thing that I've always found very strange with. Well, this is a thing that I see even comics face where another act some bomb no, sorry, does really well, and you see the face of some other comics I've seen where they get really sort of jealous or annoyed by it, and there's a lot of well, I mean, it's true in any sort of entertainment issue. There's a lot of bitterness.
Oh God, there's a lot of bitterness, and it's a very sort of self-indulgent art form, isn't it? Really, you don't want to be in a room where everyone's doing great and you die on your ass, do you? You don't want to be that person. So yeah, and it's a yeah, very self-centered uh, industry for a lot of people.
And with that, I've noticed, so this is the thing that I've noticed in the theatre clown world and also with stand-ups. Not all of them, but certain ones. So, and this is something that I find sometimes funny as a promoter. Um, Someone will go in. So I had someone a while ago, and it's in a notorious gig, cafe mode, and this guy, I never even met him before, right? But straight away, he went round trying to get information about me from me. Like, there's no regular chat or treating me like a person. Straight away, he's like, "Oh, you're on a gig. What do you use to advertise it? Oh, what's this? What's that? What's that?" You know, like straight away, you're not having a conversation with me. Straight away, you go into that. And I've noticed that and sometimes they'll even go at that approach with yeah, like they'll even not treat you well and still go around that, and they expect you to help them, which I find quite funny.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
that's what I've noticed.
yeah. One thing that's always bothered me, and you do see it a lot, is the way some established comics treat newer comics, open micers. They can be really sort of rude and just offish with sort of with new acts in the dressing room, almost to try and put them off. And I've never understood that because we've all been there. We've all been new, and you don't know. They might be the fucking best comic in the world when they go up there and do their 10 minutes. But that's something that I always struggle with. That I always try and welcome. I like seeing new comics. So if I'm on with someone who I've not seen before, oh brilliant! I'm looking forward to watching you, mate. This could be good. So, but yeah, it, there's a lot of comedy isn't as friendly as people like to think it is. It's quite a dog. It's a dog eat dog industry, really.
Yeah, it is.
It is now. Now that as soon as TV got hold of it and money, and there was big money to be made, it changed dramatically. Changed very quickly.
What you so one thing that I've noticed, and this is a podcast where I interview comics from across the globe. So this is a common thing. So I know that I had a comedian from China, I had a comedian from Malaysia, and they often talk about how yeah, and even in Bangladesh, like the gigs, it's much more easier to make a good living out of it. And he's told me in China, like they pay way more than Western gigs. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that maybe there'll be a more of a movement to comedians being more abroad? Because I know also that a comic Alexander Bennett said with the increase of travel, one comic was booked in to perform at the Glee, and apparently it cost more for him to travel to the Glee Club from London to Birmingham than it did to actually perform the set. Like he would have made a loss.
Yeah, well, one of the things that the money's never gone up. I was earning probably more when I started, when I was about 3 years in, than I am now because when the big jonglers gigs were around, and they were great. And I know people, there's this whole thing about, oh, jonglers were shit. Everybody played. I done jonglers with McIntyre, with Bridges, with Flanagan, with Jimmy Carr. Everybody did them. It was what you did back then. But you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes 2 gigs on a Saturday. You'd be making a lot of money. But there's a London promoter who's just dropped his fees again. When I was living in London, on a Saturday night, you could do 4 gigs, starting at 8, you'd be done by 10, you do 4 gigs, minimum 120 to 150 a gig.
Oh,
That's what it was like back then. It's not like that anymore. You know, it's because there's more comics. It's a promoter's game, I think, at the moment. It's not a comics game.
has the cost of living also had an effect on like comedy fees for comedians?
I don't know. I don't know if that is. There's a few promoters that are doing all right, I think. But you know, that's the risk. You know, I'm not moaning about it because we all need each other, and the good promoter. There's some really good promoters out there, and they're making a lot of money. But they're making money because they're really good and they treat the acts well. And another thing, I never get an act. I've never got this thing where an act will turn up and go. They're looking at a crowd and it's a packed room, and then moan about how much they're getting paid. You know what you're getting paid. If you don't want to take the gig, don't take the gig. Don't moan when you get there, because if there's not enough people in to cover the costs, you're not going to give the promoter the money back. So, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because there's a lot of comics do that. Turn up to a gig and go, "This, if he's charging £12 a ticket and there's 100 people in here, there's us. He's making X amount of money. Well, if you don't like it, don't work for him.
Oh yes, yeah.
But don't moan once you're there. You know what you're getting paid. You either take the gig or you don't.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, or keep it to yourself. No, I don't know.
Just keep it to yourself. But back in the day as well, I was lucky. I've gigged all over the world. But there was a lot more overseas gigs. A couple of promoters doing all over Asia. I've done Pakistan, all over the Dubai and all that. I was very lucky. Yeah.
I think, bloody hell, what was that like? Dubai and Pakistan.
Pakistan was brilliant. It was brilliant. I think I'm one of the few to go out there. And yeah, this guy called Umar runs it, Pakistani guy, gigged in Karachi. And we turned up and he said, we're going to do a little gig the night before the big gig, just so that you get a feel for it. And it's a little open mic. We're trying to get an open mic scene going here. So we turned up and was basically a college. So we're in a college classroom and there's some local comics there. And then in walked these 5 guys and 1 woman. And they were all in man. Right? And we, fuck. They've come to check what we're talking about. And they sat right at the front, and the woman sat behind them, and they sat at the front. And then Umar went on, and he did a blowjob gag, and they fucking fell about laughing. The woman patting this bloke in front of her on the back as she was howling, and he was laughing. And then he just said to us, a blowjob gag is the same in Karachi as it is anywhere else in the world. You're going to be fine here. That's why we're doing this gig, so that you understand everything's all right. It's fun. It was brilliant. It was they were lovely, but they fucking pissed themselves at it. It's good. It's good fun. Yeah, yeah.
No. D does what do you f when you travel as a comic, how do you feel that helps you to different places? Does it give you new jokes, or does it what do you find the benefits of traveling to different places of the world as a
I like playing places I've never been before. and rooms I've never played before. And yeah, usually traveling. I used to do a lot of. I think as a comic, well, I used to do a lot of stuff about traveling because I was traveling a lot, and you'd end up somewhere. There'd always be something funny or something different. Um, it's funny enough that in that karate gig, I was staying in this club, a members club, and as I was walking across the car park, this soldier come towards me. He's got a gun, and then I was walking straight towards him, thinking, "Oh, that's a bit weird." He's coming right at me, and then he stopped and saluted me in the car park. So I just saluted him back. I didn't know what to fucking do. And then he walked off looking confused. And I thought, I bet he's gone home tonight and gone, them white people are fucking weird. So you'd always have something like that happen. But as a comic, you change, didn't you? What you end up. I've done very political stuff, just silly stuff, observational stuff. You change. I think you change as a comic as you do as a person. The stuff that interests you, that makes you laugh. I don't do much travelling comedy anymore.
What I spoke to the fantastic like Maureen Younger, and she made a little point based on what you said there. She says like a key thing that makes a lot of comedy funny is psychology, and it's your reaction to the joke that makes it funny. Like, and for you as a comic, how important and how much does it help if you're very socially aware? This isn't necessarily a skill as a comic, but like being very socially savvy in terms of when you're performing on stage. How does that help you as a comic when you're doing jokes?
Well, it depends what kind of comedy you're doing. I was actually worked with Maureen on Saturday, and she was brilliant. She was really good. She hosted the show. She was really, really good. Um, but I like to keep up on a bit on what's going on in the world, but I've done hours because I was very politically motivated. When I was younger, I was involved in a lot of different movements. So I've done very heavily based Edinburgh shows that are very political. But in the end, it's very easy to alienate half an audience on when you're in a normal club with that kind of stuff. I think that's why I kind of don't mind comics like Leo, because everything's so left sort of right on in comedy that it's not really a balance of society. And although I am very left, I like to see a bit of balance. When people, when I see comics go on and they just go, "If you're a Tory, you're all cunts." Well, there's probably a few Tories in here who you just and you're not making any point by saying that. I agree with you, but you're not fucking making a point. But it just seems to be in comedy, everything is socially aware in the area they want it to be. Does that make any sense?
You mean that things are pointed more in the narrative that makes them look good to others rather than what they truly believe?
I think comics are really they'll follow what the narrative is. They'll follow exactly what is everybody else saying. I'm going to say what everybody else is saying because I want to be like them. The trans thing's a big gender's a big thing. Lots of comics. This is going to be quite controversial, maybe. Lots of comics were like, "Oh, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say this," and now that's kind of changing. They're all of a sudden, "Oh yeah, you can say this, you can." So hold on, you were the ones who were really trumpeting about you've got to be on this side. Comic, and now comics will follow what they think people want to hear. Not, is my belief. Rather than what they actually believe in, they'll follow what they think people want. There'll be a lot of comics who are pissed off at me saying that, but I know a lot who do it. So, I ain't got nothing to prove with anybody. So, yeah.
But yeah, but to comics that sort of stick to their guns like Mark Thomas, does that make them more loved by their audience?
I think so. I mean, he's a bit of a champagne socialist, to be fair, but I love what he does. I like what he does on stage, and he does put himself out there. There's not many that do though. There's not that many that are really heavily political anymore. It's all got a bit windy. Windy piss, as I call it.
So it's a bit like a yes man saying everything to a pretty girl that they fancy rather than saying what they truly believe.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many dangerous comics out there who challenge stuff. They'll say, "I agree with this, I agree with that, and I hate this and I hate that." Well, but why? What? Tell me why. You know, and I don't think there's a lot of that.
Is it more? Oh yeah, there's lazy thinking, like they've not
Yeah,
researched it to form their own opinion, and they're not brave enough to say what they truly think, even
yeah,
if it will
yeah, yeah.
upset others.
Or even if if they don't believe it, then put a good argument forward why you don't believe. Because I don't think every comic in their real life thinks exactly the same. But when they go on stage, you know what discussions are like in the green room. And the stuff that's said in the green room, comics would never dare say on stage. So that kind of says it all, really. You'll have a discussion with a comic, and they'll be saying this, that, and the other, and then they'll go on stage and say and just be exactly like what everybody else is saying. It's like, well, you're not really like that, are you?
One thing that can be a bit irritating, and maybe yeah, I think it's is people will say, yeah, they'll say something and assume that everyone in the room agrees with them.
Yeah,
Like they'll
yeah,
make, but it's like careful. You don't know what they believe. This could be a yeah, as you said, it's a Tory person, or it could be that, and that's, and even in comedy conversations that I've had recently, people will say certain things, and that I'm not really bothered what anyone believes as long as you're not an arsehole.
yeah. I mean, and as long as you're not punching down, and you've got an honest argument that you really believe, then it can be really funny and entertaining. It doesn't have to just be what everybody else thinks. If you don't think that, get on the stage and say why, but give your argument and make it funny.
What this is going to be controversial, and I'm sure you're going to say a lot on this, but it's a big thing that's been happening. But Andrew Lawrence, he twice now he's said things that are, yeah, he pushed it a bit, but him making a joke on that I thought that was a, yeah, it was a bit much. It was a bit crossing the line. I don't agree with destroying his career, but yeah, what you doing saying that's just being an arsehole, making fun
Yeah,
of
but
that.
that's his kind of thing. And there's other comics that have done, you know, Frankie Boyle said far worse than that live on TV about people when he, you know, the jokes he made about Jordan's son. It's just fucking, you know, it's not. I found that really offensive. But would I stop it? Would I say that shouldn't go out on TV? No. You know, if that's what if someone's putting him on TV and they're allowing him to say that. And there's some comics who are jumping up and down now about what Andrew said. It was a really shit joke. You know, it's a really kind of easy shit joke. Um, I would imagine a lot of comics would have thought about it, that joke, who are also slagging him off. And there's a lot of comics out there slagging him off who do really fucking hardcore stuff about child abuse. And, you know, it's a really tough one about censoring people. Um, would I have done that joke? No, but that's what Andrew does, and he knows what his audience is. He don't really give a fuck.
No, he doesn't.
Right. So, you know, and it's three times he's been cancelled twice before, and he's bounced back, and I'm sure he'll bounce back from this one as well.
Yeah, well, he got his dropped by his age. Yeah, he is. My opinion of it is, yeah, I thought, yeah, it was a bit over the line, and it's not for me. But I don't agree in destroying someone's career. I just say I agree, just leave them alone.
Yeah. Well, you know, voice your opinion on it. Um, I've got no again, equally, if anyone wants to call in whatever they want, that's up to them. But, it's funny when comics jump up and down, and you go, "Well, you got some pretty fucking nasty jokes that I wouldn't." I mean, for me personally, there's two things that I don't like child abuse jokes, but would I, if I'm in a club and I hear someone do it, would I go, "Ah, fuck, you should never do that." But it's not. It's that's an area of comedy I don't like. I don't like rape jokes. I don't like. Oh, cool. What else is there really? It's not. Well, you know, they're not. But there's comics who do jokes about that subject, and yet some of them are jumping up and down about Andrew.
We'll see what happens. There's,
Yeah,
but
he's a strange. It's a shame because back in the day he was so good. He was so good, Andrew. But he's just once it all went tits, he's gone. I'm going to go down this, and I don't care about anyone else. And we again, due to social media, you can just make your own path, and he's making his own path, and
that's the bit I want to get at. What's your what? So with all that going on, but what would you? People have been saying to me. Actually, I've forgotten. I got nothing to say. Let's. So with everything that's going on in comedy now, with things that changing. So you talked about cancel culture, and in some ways, it makes comedians bigger than they were originally. I know that even across the globe, like in India, there's a comedian that got cancelled and put in prison, and he's actually a bigger comedian than he ever was. But
well, that's social media for you. Isn't it?
with all the things that go on in comedy, as an actor that's been in the business for 25 years, what would be your advice to people? Talk a lot about acts doing the wrong thing, and I know that Wilson Milton did the little post about an act doing something silly and saying, "Oh, he posted it and it sounded a bit much." He says, "I know how this game works. Are we gonna bang and you get a spot? I get a spot." Someone messages him that, and that's one of the stupid things from acts to get spots from promoters. But you being a pro act, what's been a stupid thing you've seen from promoters in terms of how they message towards you, and what's your advice to promoters in terms of how they message out?
Well, I've very recently. There's a lot of gigs getting pulled recently, and that it really did make me angry. A promoter pulled a gig on me very late 2 weeks ago, and I went, "Are you not paying a cancellation fee?" He goes, "I've got the agreement with the venue is," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not. I'm not asking the venue. I'm asking you as the promoter. Are you not paying a cancellation fee?" And then he messaged me by saying, "Listen, you understand, I do give you a lot of gigs." To which I went, "Don't talk to me like you're doing me a fucking favour, because it works both ways. You book me because I deliver. So don't throw that at me." And that's probably the worst thing I've had from a promoter. I was really angry about it.
I'll ask only one thing on this. Was it on the day, or was it like
It was
like a
it was on a Friday afternoon, and the gig was the next Friday, and it was a 7-day cancellation clause, right? So he's done it the Friday before, which I thought was a bit wrong. And then I was actually gigging for him that night, and his mate was comparing. He goes, "Oh yeah, he was talking about that gig on Wednesday that he was going to pull it." I was like, "So he already knew that the ticket sales were low, and he didn't have the decency to go. If he'd have gone to me, listen, mate, I'm really sorry, the ticket sales are really low, because I understand what the business is. It happens." If he'd have said that, I'd have gone, "Okay, mate, I get it." But it was the way he did it, and there are ways of behaving, and that was really piss poor, I thought. And then to follow it up with, "I give you a lot of gigs. Don't talk to me like you're doing me a favour, and don't throw this back in my face. Are you paying a cancellation fee or not?" He said, "No." I goes, "Okay, well, it's noted then."
but there's a in comedy, we have the Live Comedy Association, but it is a bit of a cowboys world at the moment, isn't it? But it is. Do you think it will change in 10 years, where there'll be lots of regulations for promoters and acts, where there's a bit more less stuff like that?
because comics are. There'll always be someone who will do the gig. There'll always be someone who will do. And comics, as I said earlier, it's a dog eat dog. If you're not, I would imagine someone today, because Andrew Lawrence got cancelled from Southend. I would imagine someone rang up that theatre today and went, "Have you got a tour date slot free? Because I'm on tour." So, I really would. It wouldn't surprise me if a comic didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's comics for you, mate.
But one
We're
thing,
very, can I just say, we are very lucky. There's a lot of brilliant people doing stand-up comedy, and as you said earlier, you meet the type of people that you wouldn't meet in any other walk of life. There's some fascinating people do comedy, but it's a strange business at times.
one thing that sometimes gets me though is when people do it over small scraps, over something that doesn't really mean anything.
Uh,
I so if they start doing sneaky or backstabbing over a small shitty venue, which I had done to me, which was a bad venue, and anyway when it happened. But if you're gonna do it, shouldn't you do it over something that's actually means something or big, rather than something small?
what do you mean, promoters taking gigs from other promoters?
It was over a small venue, a really bad one as well,
Well,
and there was a
there's
lot
a
of
lot of that.
nonsense over that.
There's a lot of that goes on. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. But that's promoters. We have the same sort of thing. Comics. Oh, oh, you're ill this week. What gigs was you doing? Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny old game.
But it is funny though, sometimes that it's over small scraps though. It's not over something that's like a BBC opportunity or like being famous forever sort of opportunity. It's sometimes it's over really stupid and small things.
Yeah, but that's as I say, that's comics. That's promoters, isn't it?
Yeah, fair.
Where there's an opportunity, you never know. You never know who might be in the room. Who might be in the room that can change my life tonight.
Okay. I I did hear a thing from President Abonjo where he said that he did a small. He said he's during lockdown. He has a big following base, and he said he was going to test some jokes out. Who's going to come? And then one fan messaged him and said he's going to bring 50 people along, and he did. So yeah, in some respects, you could be right about that. And I've seen it with some of the shows that I run, in that people like the show, so they bring their friends along, and then it gets more and more. Like there'll be two people along, but then they'll bring five or so of their mates.
Yeah, yeah. Very. I was gigging in Watford on Saturday with Maury, and I put a post up on Saturday morning about the gig, and then all of a sudden my mum said, "Oh, so and so's coming. He's taking her mate," and I was like, "Oh, cool." Yeah, how it goes, isn't it?
Now, for anyone that's sort of listening in right now, what
Uh-huh.
what would be advice you'd give for comedians that are listening now in terms of
Um,
performing to different rooms? And what would be your advice on terms of dealing with the comedy game?
my, fir- my if it's a new comic, the first thing I say to them is one of the most important things is to learn how to die on stage, because you will, no matter what level you're at or you get to, whatever, you'll have nights where you die. So that's really important, learning how to deal with those cliffs, both whilst you're on stage and more importantly when you're off it. Um, but otherwise, I'd say try not to get caught up. It's a very sort of green-eyed monsters industry. You're always looking at what other people are doing, and remember or understand what you're trying to do. What do you want to do? Do you want to be a comic, or do you just want to be famous? Get used to rejection, because That's part of the business. But, don't get caught. Enjoy it. We're so lucky to do it. People pay money to come and watch you talk bollocks. Don't they? You know what I mean? So enjoy it. Don't get caught up in the business as much, and just try and work on, watch other comics as well. That's something that I find really weird now. New comics don't hang around and watch other comics. They'll come in, do their 10, and they'll go. I try to go to every gig that I do, and I try to be there from the start. Even if I know the comic well and I've seen them loads of times, because I want to feel how's the room working, watch their stagecraft. There's always something to learn at a gig. But comics don't tend to hang around anymore and watch older, more experienced comics.
Yeah. And in terms of that, I mean, would you say it shelves years off your comedy journey to watch a great comic rather than just keep performing?
I think I love watching comedy. And the reason comedy works, and you can tell a joke over and over again, is because it's totally different in this room as it was into last night's room. And so watching other comics do that and work out this audience, work out this room, what am I going to do, this joke or that joke? You just constantly learning. And as an act over the years, you constantly change of what you're doing. So there's every gig there's something to take from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my main bit of advice would be is watch as much comedy as you can and get on stage as much as you can.
Okay. And for anyone that's listening in right now, how did they find out about you?
About me, on my website, eddybrimson.co.uk. That's got information on all the books and stand up and acting stuff. Yeah, so you can get it all there, and obviously all the socials, and it's just Eddy Brimson.
Okay. Right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episodes. I'll see. Make sure you give this podcast a review on Amazon, iTunes, or Spotify if you liked it. If you didn't like it, just keep it private. Uh, yeah, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, take care.